Okay, everybody, just waiting for the stream to come up here. It's looking like it's giving me trouble, though, so we'll see. But in the meantime, go ahead and take a listen to this, and we'll be going live in just a couple minutes.
Our hero claims a warrior's heart. I tell you, the Dragonborn comes with a voice wielding power of the ancient Lord Heart. Believe, the Dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, the Dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows. You'll know the Dragonborns come.
Okay, and we're back. Hopefully everything's going good here. It looks like my stream is working fine. Hello, welcome to CptDomano's Indie Corner episode number 2. Hope you enjoyed that little song. It was a cover of the song Dragonborn Comes off of the Skyrim soundtrack, as done by a fellow YouTuber named Maluka. I'll put the link in the archives when I post this to YouTube, so you can go ahead, hop on over to her channel, and give her some love for that awesome song. Well, today is Friday, December 2nd, and today probably could not have gone any worse for me. Found out that I have a hole in my shoe. How did I find that out exactly? Well, since it is December and I do live in the Midwest, we have gotten snow over the last couple days. And as I was walking into work, started walking in on that snow, all that snow got into my shoe, and I pretty much had a wet sock for most of the day. However, all is not lost. Today can still be salvaged, because when I got home, this is what was waiting for me. Whoop. This, my friends, is the Star Wars Old Republic beta test, which starts right now. As you can see, already have it downloaded, ready to play. So as soon as I get done with this stream, my day gets a lot better, because I'm going to play the crap out of this for the next couple days, and then wait for the 2 or 3 weeks it's going to take to get the early access, because yes, of course, I did pre-order it. But we're not here to talk about Skyrim or Star Wars The Old Republic, because those are mainstream games. We're here, of course, my friends, to talk about indie games. And why would I bring up the mainstream games? Well, mostly because I do play other games besides just indie games. The one thing about indie games, though, is that that is where your innovation comes from. So with these mainstream games, everybody's talking about them. Just want to give you guys an update of what goes on from week to week with me. And so that's what I'm doing when I'm not burning through these indie games and trying to figure out which games to bring up. Which leads me into what we're going to be playing today, which is a little game called Sideway, New York, by the guys at Playbrains. This game I got off of Steam, but it can also be found on the PlayStation Network for the low price of $9.99. And the reason why I picked this game is because last week we took a look at Binding of Isaac and the topic of just keeping pretty much familiar game mechanics and even the style and art style, and kind of tweaking it to make it a little more unique. And that's pretty much what Sideway New York does. It's your basic platformer, but as you can see when I fire this game up, you're going to see that there's a little twist to the game mechanic that makes it a little interesting and pretty fun. So without further ado, let me go ahead, fire that up, get that all set and ready to go. I was having some issues earlier. I don't know if you guys were around when I was doing my sound test, but when I got into the options screen, the game kind of locked on me. That's not a known bug or anything like that. I just, for some reason, I've been playing it all week, and so now it just, of course, when I'm getting ready to go live, it decides to take a crap on me. So we'll see what happens. One thing to note, this game can be played with a gamepad. I'm using the 360 controller with the wireless receiver here, and that seems to work a lot better than just using the keyboard and mouse. That's just a personal preference. I'm used to playing games with this 360 controller, so you can very easily play this game with a keyboard and not have too much trouble. So let's see. Okay, so the game just got on here. We're going to kick up the music. And okay, so that looks good. Now I'm going to switch it right on over to the game here. And so, as you can see right away, and hear from the music, that it's more of an urban aesthetic. You do have little cartoons, cell shading with the characters and stuff, but for the most part, it's gonna be very hip, like a hip hop type environment here. So I have played a little bit of it already, and I will admit that the first few levels aren't exactly all that exciting. So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump ahead to the third level, and then also I'm going to do this boss battle, and that should give you a pretty good idea of what is going on here. So I say that this is a platformer, and it is for the most part, but the twist with the game is that you're actually you're this guy Knox, and you somehow fell into a portal, and now you're basically graffiti art stuck to the side of buildings. So the only thing that you can do is you can only traverse on buildings when it allows you to. And as you can see already, the unique mechanic with this is that the whole world itself is 3D. So you come off of the side of a building, and the whole your whole range, your visual thing will also shift along with that. So you still stay on the building, but the game level will actually shift. So if we come over here, you got some guys that want to hurt you there. So then you take those guys out. They also has these little collectible things. They're just score tags. It's just things to collect throughout the level. And then you also have these other little game mechanics here. Where you basically paint as your weapon, and so as you can see, he's painting on a graffiti fist, and that's actually something that has an effect in the physically for enemies and things like that. And so so we're going through here, and then as you can see right there, because I can't get back up there, but because there was nothing on that side of the wall of the building, I actually fell through the building, and now this is where my perspective is at. So it does, I will say, it gets a little bit jarring initially, but once you kind of get used to it, it becomes pretty fun and pretty enjoyable. And it's actually an interesting way to try to get around puzzles, because what'll happen is, depending on which side of the building you go on, that's the way that the level shifts. So sometimes you could shift the screen from top to bottom, and sometimes if you go along a different path, you can switch the screen from left to right, and then that'll cause different areas of the game to open up. And then the other thing, you end up getting certain abilities, like the ability to create your own platforms, like I just did right there. And again, this is all graffiti, so anything that Knox can physically paint on the side of the wall actually becomes like a physical thing in the world. And unfortunately, I just died right there. So now I go back to the checkpoint. So I'll just kind of go through here really quick. And the thing to remember too is that I'm not. When I say you can paint, Nox can paint things on the side of buildings. There's not really. You don't have control over it. Like there's these Nox spray tags that are your indicators of the things that you can do. You can't just randomly start painting stuff on walls and get across obstacles that way. And so we got that. The one thing that I don't really like about this game so far is like for instance, when I was right in here, where it appears that there's nothing there, but obviously there's a barrier there. So there are some times where you would think that there's not a barrier, but you would like there to be one, and so that's just one of the just the one thing that I didn't really like. And the other thing that's a little jarring sometimes is this stuff right here. These are actually spikes, and if I touch those, I'm instantly dead. But you really don't know that until you hit them. And sometimes, with the way that the level changes and flips, you don't even know that those spikes are there until it's way too late to actually react to it. But that happens very, very rarely, and overall the game is pretty fun. And like I said, the reason why I picked this game is again because of its simple design. I mean, all it is just a platformer, as you can see. But really, just having that I can't get over here. Just having that one small mechanic of having the whole world actually shift, and the ability to have these like graffiti things be actual physical things. Makes the game just a little bit different and a little bit more enjoyable than just a standard. We're gonna go and just collect these tags. There are about 15 levels to this game, and each level I would say takes right around 10 minutes or so. I'm not gonna go through this whole level. We'll probably end up quitting out of this really quick here. But I would say that overall this game could probably be completed in about, I would say, 6 to 8 hours. Oops. And there I go, I died. So I'm just going to quit out of this level and go straight to a boss battle. But obviously you can kind of get how the gameplay works. And, there's different types of enemies and things of that nature, so... Like I said, a pretty basic platformer, but with some interesting little mechanics and little almost puzzle-solving. So this BD is Big Deal, and he's the boss. The boss levels are separate from regular levels, so it's not like you have to go through a level to get to a boss. It's just straight right to it, as we can see right here. And now the boss battles are kind of interesting because it took me a little bit to figure out exactly what it was I had to do here. And keep in mind, that I had mentioned before that anything that Nox paints takes physical properties in this game world. So initially get this guy sends the spray cans at you, he's gonna run down, and then now he's gonna get mad. But then there's this. If you caught it really quick there, what I did was I actually spray painted these, like, it says Nox, but then there's also these little spikes that come out, and because he bull rushes, he ran right into the obstacle and then took damage. So there's these little puzzle mechanics that make the boss battles unique too. I know I've heard complaints that sometimes the boss battles are a little they're a little difficult, and whoops, yeah. See, if you don't move fast enough, then he does get you. But I've heard that these boss battles are a little difficult for some people, and sometimes they don't. It seems like the game's cheating, but I haven't really noticed that. And for the most part, you might die a couple times, but it's pretty easy to figure out what the trick is for these bosses. So again, this game is called Sideway New York, made by Playbrains, who also made the game Madballs and Babbo Invasion. It was an Xbox Live arcade game back in, I want to say June or July of 2009. And this is definitely a step up from that game, because I don't even really remember hearing anything about the Madballs game and if it was even any good. So I do know that this is at least getting some recognition for being on the PlayStation and also on Steam. So, and like I said, it's an enjoyable game. It's really, whoops. It's a fun little game for $10. For a 15 level game here. And it's got collectibles, and you get these unlocks, and you get different abilities, things like that. It's just a really fun game, and overall a good game I would recommend for anybody that likes platforming and just wants something a little bit slightly different with the 3D mechanics of how the levels work. So that's that game, and then now I want to kind of talk about something I brought up last week, and those were something I kind of glossed over before. I was going to talk about upcoming events and festivals, and one of those things that I talked about was the Independent Games Festival, and that is something that's coming up in March of 2012. But the interesting thing is that the submissions for the actual competitions are going to be starting to be announced towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So sometime in January, we'll know exactly which games made the cut. Because like I said before, there was over 570 submissions total for the Independent Games Festival, the main competition. And so basically, for a little bit more history on that takes place during GDC every year. And it's a 3-day, like I said, 3 days from March 5th to 9th this year. Well, 4 days, sorry. And it's basically just, it's a whole festival for indie games. Every single submission will be out on the floor, the finalists will be out on the floor to be able to be demonstrated and everybody take a look at. So with that, I'll have more information about exactly what was being submitted, what's being talked about as we get closer to that date. And one of the other things that I did talk about was where you can get these types of games. And like I said before, you can get them through Steam. Xbox Live Arcade has the whole indie game thing. But something I've been noticing lately, a new trend is the indie bundles. So the most recent, or the most popular one, the most mainstream of the indie bundles are the Humble Indie Bundles. And currently right now there's a Humble I was almost going to say intro version bundle going on right now. And again, I'll have a link to that at in the comments of the YouTube archive. But essentially these bundles are, you pay however much you feel you need to pay, and they give you a chunk of games. For instance, with the Humble Introversion bundle, you're getting Uplink, Darwinia, Multiwinia, DEFCON, and Aquaria. There's a physics engine along with that. I mean, they basically just pile in a whole bunch of different games. Usually they're from the same company or have some sort of related feature. But these are really good. It's a really great way to get a whole bunch of these indie games for even cheaper than what it would be if you bought them all individually. And that's the thing is, with the Humble Indie Bundle, you also, whatever you give can also be donated to Child Play and to another foundation that I can't remember the name. Oh, that sucks. But essentially, your money goes to the developers. It also goes to charity. It's just, like I said, it's another great way of getting a hold of these games. The intro version bundle, though, is for me, it's a little bit, it's more exciting because these games aren't, they stray farther from a regular formula. Uplink is a game based on hacking, and it's a very minimalistic type game where you're physically hacking. You're not physically hacking, but you're acting as if you're hacking into mainframes and trying to get data. You're basically a hired hacker, and it's a very interesting game. Darwinia is a strategy game that I think is probably the most normal type game that they've got. And then DEF CON, which was the tagline for DEF CON is "Everybody dies," and it's another minimalistic thing where you control a country who has their hand on the button for the nukes, and the goal of the game is to try not to lose as many people as everybody else, and that's actually how you win. But technically, nobody wins because you still lose millions of people. That I might actually look at next week for this show. Wow, sorry, I'm starting to kind of space out here. So we got the Humble indie bundles, and then one other indie bundle that I've noticed that has been popping up is the Indie Royale bundle. And currently we've got 5 games on there. Really Big Sky, which is a shoot 'em up. It's like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, like similar to if you've played like games like Gradius or R-Type. It's like that, but it has again just a tiny little little difference in gameplay. You're drilling through planets on some points. There's a game called Runespell Overture, which is I don't know much about it. The only thing I know that it's an RPG game with poker elements. That's these are all games that basically I'm going to take a look at over the next week, and then for my next show I'll probably take a couple of those games instead of just one, because I did kind of burn through Sideway pretty quick, and last week I did burn through Binding of Isaac fairly quickly as well. So I might start taking a look at 2 games at a time just to get more gameplay, and so you don't have to look at me and my stupid hair for the whole 30 minutes here. So that is pretty much all I got. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, but go ahead, check out those indie bundles. Go ahead and check out if you guys ever want a specific game looked at with gameplay or anything like that. Chances are I've got it. I basically pick these up the moment I see them, just because they're so cheap. And I'm sure my wife appreciates that, because it's money I'm spending that seems not like a lot, but then when you start getting into these bundles and grabbing games left and right, they do end up costing a little bit. So with that, I would bid you all a good day, good night. Enjoy the weekend. For those of you that got into the Star Wars beta, have fun with that. And we'll just go ahead and call it a night for right now. All right, I will see you guys next week.